Natalia Cooper. I'm a teacher at Oakland International High School. We are protesting the influx of private money that's trying to tell us how to run our schools.
And why is that?
It's more about making a profit than really serving students. So there's a lot of talk about how the corporations are there to support students and teachers, but what ends up happening is they provide a lot of seed money for programs, but they don't sustain it. So the programs end up shriveling and not being able to flourish.
Antoine Wilson, you can't hide. We can see your workshop.
Down, down with common enrollment.
Down with common enrollment.
My name is Perry Bellow-Hanselman. I'm a teacher in East Oakland and the secretary of the Oakland Education Association. I'm here today because I think we need to expose who is behind the forces, the policies in our district that are pushing for privatization, that are pushing for the expansion of charter schools, which in the long run is going to mean towards the closure of public schools. In fact, I really think that part of the plan here and part of Wilson's plan, which Antoine Wilson, the superintendent, has been saying since he came, is that he believes that we need to close, that we have too many public schools, that we need to close public schools in Oakland, reduce the number of public schools. And one way to do that is by putting in place an enrollment system that is set up in a way to pull students out of the public schools and into charters, expand charters that increase the profits of corporate elite, and take away the options in our city that provide schools for all students.
And who's behind this push for charter?
Well, the New Schools Venture Fund is who's funding the Common Enrollment Plan. Again, you also have Antoine Wilson and all of his crew that he brought with him from Denver who come from the Eli Broad Foundation. These are corporate right-wing organizations that have explicit interest in the expansion of charter schools and say so very publicly in their materials. And they're also funded by corporations such as Walmart, Target, Dell, JP Morgan Chase. And I don't think we need to go too far to understand where their interests lie.
How do they get in charge of the schools?
Well, the Broad Foundation, that's a really good question. The Broad Foundation has a structure in which what it does, the Broad Foundation recruits people to be trained, who come out of corporate America, to be trained as principals, to be trained to become superintendents and district administrators, and then provides those individuals with paid internships in school districts. So Oakland, over the past decade, has been flooded with Brodies whose salary initially our school district wasn't paying for. And so the school district said, oh sure, you can send your free interns here with this corporate background to help us out. We could certainly use help after we've been drained of resources by the state. What then happens? These people establish their network in our schools, and at this point in time, we have Brodites throughout the district who came in this way. And so it's a real plan. It's very, you also, yeah, I would say it is. And I think we really need to wake up. I have complete compassion for parents who make the choice to send their students to charter schools because that's where they believe their child is going to be best served. And our problem is not with parents making those choices. Our problem is with the school district and the corporate elite who are forcing people into these choices by divesting from our public schools, destabilizing our public schools, and leaving people no option but to turn to a private system that in the long term doesn't need to continue to serve our students. And so that's the real fear is, will we still have public schools in 20 years in Oakland? I don't know if we will if we don't fight back.
Mike Hutchinson. Here today because as a lifelong Oakland resident and proud graduate of Oakland Public Schools, I'm really upset of what's happened to our public education system, how it's been taken over by charter schools, privatizers, and basically organizations backed by billionaires. I ran for school board in 2012. I'm going to be running again in 2016, and we're really hopeful that this time we can finally get back local control of our schools. Here at our district administration building, which is leased because our administration building was flooded 3 years ago and still hasn't been rebuilt. Inside these offices, Oakland Public Education Fund subleases some of that office space. So some of these same privatizers and nonprofits, so-called, that we are very upset about, also share office space with our district leadership. This same nonprofit, the Ed Fund, tomorrow at the school board meeting is going to be designated as a fiscal agent of the district, and all donations are going to start flowing through this one nonprofit. It's also the same nonprofit, the Oakland Public Education Fund, that's behind the new Ballyhooed Oakland Promise, which promises $35 million will also be flowing through the same organization, giving them at least $40 million. The district also contracts with this organization and pays them money directly. They also provide staff members. So a lot of us have questions: who's really in charge, who's running things? And lastly, this same group, the Oakland Public Education Fund, is connected with Go Public Schools, which just happened to fund the campaigns of 5 of our 7 school board members. So it's all connected. It's outsiders coming in and using their money to leverage policy decisions, and we demand our public schools should really serve our public communities. So I'm really hopeful for the repeal. I'm going to be helping them gather signatures. I think we really need to have the authority to say in Oakland what kind of schools we want here. And one of the main problems with the California charter law as it operates now is even if we say no in Oakland, the decision can be appealed. And so what that's done is given a crutch to our local school board to say, oh, we can't do anything to stop it. So they disapprove every charter school out of hand. Oakland, for the last decade, has had the highest rate of charter schools in California, and California is the state with the most charter schools. We've been ground zero. New Schools Venture Fund is based in Oakland. There's been officials placed in the Department of Ed in DC from Oakland. Enough is enough. And with our Ford Broad administrator, enough is enough.
Those nonprofits, whatever you want to call them, take in millions of dollars from the private corporate sector and then funnel it into educational efforts, mostly to expand charter schools and to open up public school classrooms for more testing and other union-busting efforts.
LCAP and parent engagement. So I'm excited. I was just on a panel and I just drove in. Hence I didn't join you on the walk. But anyway, I definitely am concerned as a school board member that lots of unusual conduct is happening, that the board is actually not doing business publicly about who is working in our schools, consultants working with our district. And yes, my daughter is in the public schools, so I'm concerned as a parent, not just as a board member, about whether or not we will still have public schools in the future if this trend continues. Because if this is not the topic of the day in 20, 30 years after a takeover, then corporations can just turn around and walk away. And what will happen to public education? And that's probably the nightmare that keeps me up, is what would happen if this was a complete charter district and one day they decide to go into another arena. We'll be left with empty buildings, no teachers, no education for students who can't afford to go to private schools, students who can't afford to up and move to another city that will have public education. So it's definitely worrisome to me. Why are things happening in the way that they are with all of this new leadership that's in Oakland that isn't from Oakland? And so I don't think they really know how to serve us. That's my big concern.
I came down from Sacramento. I'm Kathleen Carroll. I'm working on an initiative to repeal charter school law. So we talk about the problem of money going to politicians, going to the wealthy, our tax dollars. Well, I actually have an amount. In filing all the paperwork with the Secretary of State and the Attorney General's office, we got a fiscal report came back that says over $5 billion with a B is going to charter schools, and if we shut them all down, those will go back to the traditional public schools. So we have some petitions, and if you're interested in repealing the Charter School Act of 1992, we need your signature today, because we need to gather over 4,000. We have parent, community activists, teachers, and labor activists throughout the state working on this, but it's an uphill battle, as you know. We have very little funds, so the more people to sign, the better. And I must say I'm very proud of you, because up in Sacramento, although they do fight closures, they don't use the word privatization very much, and the same thing happens throughout the state. So Oakland, San Francisco, kudos. You're very proud of you.
Right here is where New Schools Venture Fund is housed. It is a nationwide NGO headquartered here in Oakland. So Some of the factoids that we have for you. This is a venture fund that has already put $150 million to over 300 charter schools around the country, serving over 157,000 students. Their CEO, Stacy Childress, has said over the next 5 years we'd like to create 100,000 to 150,000 more seats in schools that are organized to meet the needs of every learner every day, air quotes. They have almost 50 million in assets. Annually, they receive 23 million from the following: Target, Dell, Walmart, Bloomberg, Gates, JP Morgan Chase, Pearson, Carnegie, and Eli Broad. These corporations and their billionaires and foundations, the foundation money coming directly to New Schools Venture Fund, they have been the main funders of union-busting lawsuits like Vergara versus California, which declared teacher tenure unconstitutional. Also, Friedrichs versus CTA, which goes after a union's right to collect dues. It's perfectly clear this corporate foundation money comes with strings attached. Therefore, we have part 2 of a little skit we prepared, so enjoy, please.
Home sweet home. Yes, very cozy here.
What does this mean? New Schools Venture Fund? My students need smaller classes forever. If you promise small classes today, I need small classes forever.
We don't give long-term aid. We just give seed money to make you change your ways. When it runs out, you're stuck with the problems you had before.
All right, so give us the money. Come on. We'll take it. We're not picky.
Wait a second. Let's think about what makes sense for our schools. What is this place? Venture fund? As in venture capital? You're not planning to help children. You just want to make money off our students.
These greedy teachers, they always want more money. I don't know why they're always talking about us wanting more money. Whatever, we'll take the money. Come on. Give us the money. We'll take it.
It's male chauvinism. It's called Bay Technology is the Gulen school in Oakland. All the people on the board are male Turks, or I'm saying it's not made up. This is true. There's over 140 Gulen followers. It's like a cult, religious cult, that run over 140 schools across the United States in 26 different states. But the one in Oakland, if you just look at who's the principal, it's a male Turk. The entire board of the local board is male Turks. And it's been like that for over a decade.
Isn't it illegal to discriminate? I mean, if you discriminate against women or discriminate,
well, one of the things they do is they hire people from, they bring them in on green cards, like non-credentialed teachers, but Gulen is worldwide, so they have schools where they can go get credentialing and stuff like that. But the problem is that, I mean, it's a question of inequity. The Armenians in the United States don't have one single charter school that I'm aware of. There's a charter school gap. There's 140 more charter schools throughout the United States that are making them Turkish favorite of the schools that they're educating. You know, when you deal with schools that are connected unofficially, like these connections are with the Gulen connections, if one school diverts money in some way and they have a gap, they have the capacity to take money from the other school. So every time they open a school, they get money to run the school. You know, it's like almost like a Ponzi scheme. They're constantly opening schools, so they're constantly getting money.
Why isn't the Attorney General?
One of the problems is Islamophobia, is that you sound like you're ranting against Islam.
But they're Christian Christian charter schools too. The Escondido school in Escondido Charter High School, run by a religious guy.
If he hadn't died in Reverend Jones would have he would have been competing with the Gulen for the most charter schools. I mean, because but from a Turkish political standpoint, it's sort of like you're creating a constituency like Cubans have. Christian was a Roman cult, right? Until it became the emperor's religion. A cult like the relationship is not just a relationship. A relationship is there's a connection to these people, and then they have another connection to a foreign country. So it's, you know, but the reason, my opinion, the reason like the government doesn't do anything about it is that when the Soviet Union collapsed, we didn't have a presence in the former Soviet republics. Now, but Gulen does. So there's a CIA interest in to maintain him and just to keep hands off. And you know, that's an attack on union. It's published in the paper, and he uses his position like he's an authority on education because he's running a charter school. Well, he is a traitor to public education. He took his school, and Learning Without Limits, and he saw no limits to the fact that he was a public school, and he got his staff, 50% of his staff, they converted his school to a charter school. Now, a few years later, he's writing an op-ed that's attacking unionism. He doesn't even have unions in his school. He left schools where they had unions and whatnot, and now he's presenting himself as an expert on unionism and the evils of seniority. Because if you really understand seniority, you understand that what management does is that the bottom line is you don't want to pay more money and as you keep people around, so it's an ageism sort of thing. So if you get experience, and then the people say experience is really good to have experience, but hell, management doesn't want to pay for experience. They want to turn public schools into McDonald's, where you have the lowest paid type things. But at the same time, in my point, I'm a union person, but my union leadership just lets those sort of things slide. They don't really, they don't defend seniority. It's just not the thing that's being done right now.
I really want to appreciate all the people that worked hard to make this happen, to do the research about the different organizations that are trying to stay as secret as they can while they undermine our public schools and try to take things away from our students.
Up with public schools!
Up with public schools!
Down, down with common enrollment!
Down, down with common enrollment!
Up with public schools!
Up with public schools!
When I say union, you say power.